Hi everyone, and welcome to the University of Guam. I'm Doug Palmer, the Athletics Director at UOG, and this is the Triton Athletics and Fieldhouse YouTube show. Today, we're going to do things a little bit different. We've invited Dana Holmes, the men's basketball coach at the University of Guam, to come do an interview for us. He's going to start the show out with the interview. Dana is a Yankee, so we're exact opposite. I'm a Southerner from South Carolina. He's a Yankee originally from New York.
Yes, sir.
All right, so tell us a little bit about your background.
My background, I grew up in New York, went to college. I went to prep school first, upstate New York, played junior college, transferred over to Division II, been a part of coaching AAU basketball, training a lot of guys out there and stuff like that. So basketball has always been in the forefront of my life, and I have a lot of experience with coaching a lot of guys and players out in the States.
Now, as a junior college player, you had a lot of national championship level play, right?
Yes, we first year we made it all the way to the end and lost in the national championship game. But just overall, just going through that whole experience of playing against great competition and just being on that level, playing in front of a packed audience and stuff like that. It was great exposure, great experience. It's definitely helped.
Well, your first season at UOG was way back in the fall of 2019. I think we got one game in the spring season before everything got shut down. Mm-hmm. Your first team was a little bit under 500, but it was a very tough league. Mm-hmm. This league is going to be tough as well, but you've had the team in tryouts, you've had a few practices under your belt. Mm-hmm. What's your feeling about this year's team?
My feeling about this year's team, I feel like we're going to be a much more competitive team. Last year, we had guys that I felt that we was making progress and we was getting towards that, and obviously COVID kind of slowed things down. But we got a fresh group of young players that are hungry and eager to learn, and they just the work ethic and intensity is very, very high. So I'm very pleased with the tryouts so far and preseason workouts and stuff that we've been doing so far. So we've been making a lot of progress early on.
Okay. Well, we have a huge loss from the team. Logan Hopkins, who's been our top scorer for the past few semesters, has chosen to stay in Texas for personal reasons and good personal reasons. Hopefully he'll be back in January, but how are we going to replace 30 points a night? Basically?
I know it's going to be that's going to be the challenge to replace that. So we're just going to have to do it as a collective team effort. Everybody's going to have to contribute and do a little bit of everything. It may take away from our offensive in terms of scoring easier. Logan was definitely a help. Just his skill level, being able to knock down that open jump shot, helps a lot of other players as well too. But I think we could definitely make that up with just hard work, defense, and just all-out effort. It's going to take a collective.
Okay. And what's going to be our style of play? I know you have the style that you want to play. What kind of style is that?
Our style is definitely, you come see us play, you're going to see 40 minutes of guys running up and down. At no point will we be walking the ball up the court. I just want to be able to outrun teams. That's why, for us to be conditioned and have our endurance up is very, very, very important. We have to use our youth to our advantage, playing against some of these older, experienced teams. So we got to be just ready to run, play fast, and just play with all our heart.
Okay. Well, talking about the league we're playing in, we have our old nemesis, the Anderson Bombers in it again, the KFC Bombers.
Yes.
We also have the MVPs, who used to be one of our nemesis before your time. But we got the 4 Stars, who was our nemesis in the last league. So how do you feel about the overall strength of the league?
The overall strength of the league is pretty good. It's pretty solid. Like I said, I like for it to be competitive. I don't want an easy way to the championship. But now we got some good experienced local teams out here. Obviously, the Anderson team, very well coached, very well guys, got a lot of experience. Guys are strong. The physicality of the game, they try to impose that on teams and stuff like that, and it's very effective. So for us, we have to, just continue to get in the weight room, get stronger, and just continue to just build good habits, and hopefully, when we play against them, we should be ready.
Okay. Well, my last question for you is, you're still a player.
Yes.
I've been watching you play out here in the Bud Light Golden Hoops League that's been playing at UOG, but you're also a coach. So how do you mix those two, that you're a player and you're a coach both at the same time?
I think it's actually an advantage for me because when I do coach the kids, they know I wouldn't ask them to do anything I haven't done or they haven't seen. So I think it kind of helps me to my advantage when I tell the guys to play hard and they actually can see for themselves that I play a certain way and I play hard and I get after it defensively and compete. So, I think it works to advantage. The competitiveness is kind of hard to switch off sometimes from player to coach, but, I find a way to get it done.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dana, for coming. The UOG men's basketball team starts play on September 8th at 8:15 against the U17 junior national team. It's going to be a tough start to the season, but again, there's no easy games in it's actually now called the KFC Triton Men's Basketball League, as KFC's came on to be a sponsor, which will allow the PBS TV station on Guam to show our games again. So if you can't make it to all our games, you can catch some of them on the PBS Guam channel coming up starting in September. So thank you, Dana.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll continue the show after this. Well, I'd like to thank Coach Holmes again for that inspiring interview. It makes you excited about the UOG men's basketball program heading into their season starting in early September. Now, the biggest news at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse is the international basketball games being played next week here. On August 26th at 7 p.m., the Bank of Guam men's basketball national team will play Chinese Taipei. And then on August 28th, which is Saturday, at 2 p.m., they will play a second game. This is a 2-game series to qualify for the Asia Cup. This was originally supposed to be played in Indonesia, the 2-game series, with the winner moving on to the Asia Cup, which was also going to be played in Indonesia. But since COVID hit the islands of Indonesia pretty hard, they canceled the Asia Cup until sometime in 2022, and this series was moved to Guam. Major reason it was moved to Guam, we have such a high vaccination rate here, and Taiwan does not. The game should have been split, one game in Guam, one game in Taiwan, but because Taiwan's vaccination rate is low, both games will be played here. If Guam sweeps both games, then they automatically are moved into the Asia Cup. If Guam and Taiwan split games, then if the team that has the best point differential will go. So if Guam wins the first game by 10 points and Taiwan wins the second game by 8 points, Guam will advance with the 2-point differential. And then they will play in the Asia Cup in 2022. And it's very important that the national team does that, because that will bring more games to Guam. There's a chance that they qualify for the Asia Cup, then teams like Japan and South Korea and even Big China will come here to play, and the Guam team will go there to play as well. So really big games next week. The two teams are ranked pretty close. I think Taiwan is somewhere like number 65 or so in the world, and Guam is somewhere in the mid 70s. So they're within 10 rankings of each other. So we will see how that goes next week. In UOG athletic news, we have good news and we have bad news. On the bad news side, the UOG women's soccer team did not get enough players to play in 2021-22. Women's soccer only had about 5 players show up to play. Of course, you need 11 to play, and we generally consider that we need at least 13 or 14 players to really have a roster deep enough to play and get over injuries and things. So we made the decision that we will not play women's soccer in 2021-22, but we will try to come back on women's soccer in 2022-23. This is sad though, because the University of Guam, since we began women's soccer, has been a championship team. We have two amateur league championships, so it is very sad that we can't go out and compete for another championship this year. but we will come up with a plan to recruit better in the spring semester when the high school seasons are, and try to lock in enough players to play before we even have tryouts come next August or whatever. Also on the baseball front, again, more bad news. We got up to about 7 or 8 players, but we did not get enough players that we felt comfortable playing a full season. So baseball will be suspended during the fall semester. We will make one more run at it come January and try to get enough players to play in the spring semester. And depending on how many players we get and the quality of those players, we'll either try a season in the spring amateur league, or we'll try to go into the Guam Major League, which is our ultimate goal. But we don't necessarily have to meet that goal in this year. We can meet it in future years, but we need to get the baseball program started, build a foundation, and move forward. As we were talking about with Coach Holmes earlier, men's basketball has a pretty good sized squad with 12 to 14 players on it. We've been having 8 to 10 players at practices. Hopefully now the classes have started and things are starting to settle down. We'll get back up to 12, 14 players at practices as we move towards our opening date on September 8th against the U17 junior national team. We'll be playing that game at 8:15 p.m. And we're looking forward to the start of the men's basketball season. On the really good news side, the women's basketball program did pick up 8 to 10 players from their tryouts and other people that are committed to the program that couldn't be here for the tryouts. But we feel very good now. We have enough players to play women's basketball, and they will start their season on September 9th, which is a Thursday, and they will play at 8:15 against the U17 junior national women's team. So we're very happy that the women's basketball team will continue, and we actually have some very good players. So we're very excited. Best story out of the women's tryouts. We were talking to a young lady up in the stands who's from Yap. She decided to try out. She's actually a pretty good little ball player, and she actually got awarded a $1,000 scholarship basically on the spot. So if you're still out there and you're still thinking about trying out, still not too late that you could come to a regular practice and try out. On the women's rugby side, we have now set the date for the opening match. That will be on October 9th, probably at 11 o'clock. Not sure exactly who we're playing. We hopefully will determine that in the next week or so. But that is when women's rugby will play. It will probably be a 5-team league that will feature 12 Lady Tritons playing. So we're very happy that the Lady Tritons now have 12 players. It's a 7s-on league, which means you have 7 players on the field playing. So we're very excited that we have probably what's considered almost a full squad to play women's rugby. And there will be a special event prior to the first game. This is the very first game of women's rugby ever played at the University of Guam. So we're going to have a special event prior to the game to mark the date of the first women's rugby game ever played here at the University of Guam. In men's soccer, they have a good solid squad of 14 to 15 players. They will start playing in October as well, and but the Guam Football Association hasn't set the schedule yet. They are just now finishing up their indoor futsal leagues, so as soon as their futsal playoffs are done, we'll find out what the spring leagues will show. And now to the Triton Fitness Center. The Triton Fitness Center has opened now for the fall semester. We've moved the entrance from the side entrance back to the lobby entrance. So if you're coming to the fitness center, come to the lobby area back how it was before the pandemic struck, and you can enter through that entrance to the Triton Fitness Center. Fitness center hours is from 8 a.m. To 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. On Friday, it's 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. All right, on Monday, yoga at 12 o'clock with Olympia, 4 o'clock boxing with Mark, and 5:30 to 6:30 with Marissa. mixed fit. On Tuesdays, boxing at 11 o'clock with Mark, and it's Mark Mendiello who runs the dorms. He's an MMA person. At 12:30, Strong Nation with Marissa again. And at 5:30 to 6:30, Zumba with Karen. On Wednesdays, we have a 12 o'clock yoga class again with Olympia. 4 to 5 p.m. boxing with Mark. And then mixed fit at 5:30 to 6:30 with Marissa. On Thursday, we have boxing again with Mark at 11 o'clock. 12:30 is mixed fit with Sherry. And 5:30 to 6:30 is Zumba with Karen. And the last class of the week is mixed fit with Sherry on Fridays from 12:30 to 1:30. We have 13 classes. This is really exciting for us to have the most fitness classes that we have. So we're really thankful for Take Care to provide us with all these free classes. It is free for UOG students and UOG employees. You most certainly can come over to take the classes. It's a good mixture of classes, so hopefully you'll take advantage of it. All right, the last thing that I really want to remind you of is Triton Rentals. You can rent the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse. If you got a concert, if you got a graduation, if you got an athletic event, UOG students could rent it for, I don't know, a dance or a musical production or those type things. So we are open for rentals. It is going to be difficult the next few months to get in. We got a lot of basketball going on and other events, but it is possible, especially if you look 3 to 4 or 5 months down the line. You can get into here as Guam opens up and things are, and restrictions are becoming a little less. You can have bigger events and things here. This week I'm going to tell you a Doug Palmer story from back at my time at the University of West Florida again. And this time I'm going to tell you how I locked the University of Alabama basketball coach in a locker room. In Pensacola, Florida, back in the late 80s, they had what was called the Blue Angel Classic. This was a Division I basketball tournament that brought in 4 Division I schools. University of West Florida at that time was an NAI school. So we couldn't take part, but a lot of us who worked in the athletic department there worked the Blue Angel Classic. My job at this tournament was to lock and unlock the locker rooms for the teams while they were playing. So it's halftime of the University of Alabama game against, it was either Navy or Bucknell. I know it was a Northeast team, and those two teams were in the tournament. So I went back into the locker rooms. I unlocked them for the teams at halftime. When halftime was over, the teams left the locker rooms. I locked the Northeast team's room first. Then I went to the Alabama locker room. I entered the locker room. I looked around, and I yelled out, "Anybody here?" And nobody said anything. So I locked the door and started walking away. But when I got about 10 or 12 steps away, all of a sudden there was pounding on the door. And I ran back to the locker room. I unlocked it, and Coach Wimp Sanderson, who was a very famous coach who wore the plaid jackets and the plaid long pants, was standing at the door. And he looked at me and said, "Well, Bubba, I probably would be better off if I stayed here." But then he left it, and he left the locker room and went on out. And they won their game. I have to admit, his language was a little more colorful than what I just said. That's when I locked the Alabama Crimson Tide men's basketball coach in the locker room. He didn't ever really know my name, but he actually mentioned this event in one of his books that he wrote after he finished his coaching career about how he got locked in the locker room in Pensacola, Florida. And one night while me and my boss, the athletic director at the University of West Florida at the time, were driving to or from a game in Alabama to one of our schools in our Division II conference, I heard Wimp Sanderson on the radio, and he actually commented on that game again. Sorry to say this was before cell phones were really common, so I couldn't call in to the show to say, "Hey, I'm out here driving on the road listening to your show, and you talking about me locking you in the locker room." So that's kind of a humorous story. about my time as a worker at a basketball tournament. Well, that's the show for this week. Thank you very much for being here. I really enjoyed doing the interview with Coach Holmes, and we're looking really forward for men's basketball. And we got next week's international basketball games. So we got a lot of exciting things going on at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse, in Varsity Athletics, in our fitness center. So this is a real happening place to be, and I hope you guys can come by and enjoy some of the energy that is being used here in Triton Athletics and Fieldhouse. Thank you very much.